Hello and welcome to another guest top 10. This is a very special episode as well because this is also going to go somewhere else, the Fantastic Neighborhood. So
You're always in the fantastic neighborhood.
yeah, it's true. We all live in the Fantastic Neighborhood. I'm Alex O'Neill, who will be your MC for this very special guest top 10 slash official top 10. And joining me is Fred Earhart and John Anderson.
Yay.
Dem
Podcasting.
boys.
The fantastic neighborhood itself.
The
Oh,
OG
welcome to our
Fantastic
show,
Neighborhood.
Alex. Welcome. It's good to have you on.
Welcome to my show.
Oh, this is great.
It's good to have you guys on.
So you might also, for listeners, fuck, man, this is confusing. I'm like a little Inception. Alex is also the co-host of the Bro C, our bro
show.
host. Yeah, our bro hosted OC Rewatch podcast. So if you want to get your fill of us and really horribly inappropriate jokes, yeah, just really some bad stuff as it relates to teenagers and their drama, check us out at thebro-c.com.
Or you could actually just listen to Tyler Teresa's top 10 video games of all time podcast, which is in itself an episode of the Bro C.
I should probably put that out on the Bro C feed.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
There might have been a time in my life where I felt jealous of you guys having so many podcasts together and being all besties, but in this case, I think I'll make an exception.
You know, we hear that from a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, you guys do you in this case. You do you.
We took a joke way too far.
Most of them have not actually watched the OC, though, and they just don't know what they're missing.
It's a great show. I just can't say enough nice things about it.
After this, I'm going to go sit down and watch some episodes of the OC, and I'm pretty excited about it.
After this, I'm going to go sit down and edit an episode of the Bro C. So, yeah.
What goes around comes around. The Bro C. Brought to you by the Bro C. But we're not talking about the Bro C. Well, maybe a little bit, but outside of that, let's get right into the video games. 2016 video games. I thought it was a pretty good year for video games.
It was a pretty ill year for video games.
Yeah,
I think, it was a weird year, I think.
Yeah.
And I'll get into that when we go into our list, but I think overall, it was a net positive.
Yeah, there were a lot of different video games this year, which I thought was cool versus last year, which was all open world games. It was just literally only open world games. Even the linear games were open world games. You just didn't realize it.
I can't even remember 2015, man. What was that even
Remember
about?
Metal Gear Solid 5?
Oh, sorry, I don't call it that. The Phantom Pain. Yeah, Phantom Pain was my favorite. Did I say it was my favorite game of 2015? Right, I did, and I'd only played like 10 hours, I think.
I think you might have had it up there.
Anyway, that brings me to I mean, that's the best game I played in 2016 was the Phantom Pain. Like that is a fucking hell of a game.
It's a really good game.
Gosh.
My gosh. I liked being there in text form across your journey,
dude.
To Phantom Pain,
or through the entire Metal Gear saga. Like,
yeah,
man, this has been an interesting couple years that wrapped up. Oh man, that's such a good game. Oh, it has one of the best endings. Oh, it's so good. I love that game so much. Anyway, so that's 2016, 2015 game of the year. Oh man, that might be game of the year for like every year going forward. It's so good.
It's a really good one.
Good. I can't even. Oh, it's so good.
Is there any other honorable mentions people want to throw out there now that we have the forum is open?
Fred?
God, I don't know. So it's weird. My top 10 list, a lot of it is games that I'm gonna hate fuck into the top 10. Like,
oh yeah, dude, for real.
I don't even like some of these games, but I think they deserve mention because 2016 was weird.
There's like a lot of bad games. I know I say I like these games, but I know they're bad. Like that's kind of been a situation with me.
I'm kind of the opposite side. There's a lot of games on here that I know are good, but I hate that I know they're good, or there's something about them that really drives me insane. Like whereas in other years, especially when we used to do Game Club and all that, John, like we would have. We couldn't even pick what our top 10 was, which is why we often wound up with like your top, 15 and a quarter.
Yeah.
But this year, like my top 10 list is just me, this fucking game. It's number 7 because fuck it. Like
It sounds like you play a lot of great video games.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
so I have a bunch of honorable mentions. I'll throw out there.
Sure.
So first of all is a bad game called Mirror's Edge Catalyst. It recently got bumped from my top 10 yesterday or the day before. That's a bad game that I still kind of like because I have this weird attachment to the original Mirror's Edge, and it's beautiful, and some of it feels good, but too much of it falls flat. So that is one of my runners up. Mega Man 2 is getting an honorable mention. I played a shitload of that.
1987 classic.
Yeah, I played a crap load of that on NES Classic that I got from my brother-in-law for Christmas, and then Titanfall 2 gets an honorable mention. I didn't get around to finishing the campaign. I feel bad. Like I actually feel bad about that. That's weird.
That is a very good video game, in my humble opinion. Just gonna throw it out there. If you get the chance, you should finish
I am
it.
going to. I'm still like working on my notes here.
What is Don, what is your ratio of games that you start versus games that you actually finish at this point?
I don't know. I think I finished most of them. I'm gonna finish Titanfall 2. I brought it to Jersey with me. Then one of my number 9 game kind of ended up sucking me in pretty hard.
Yeah, it did.
Also my number 3 game, which I only played because it was Anyway, we'll get to all that stuff. I ended up not having time for Titanfall.
If that's it for honorable mentions, we can get right to the list.
Well, I also have one of my superlative lists, young Alex.
Oh, my bad. I forgot about the superlative lists.
So these are the top 5 games I did not play but wanted to. Okay. This is a thing I do every year, right? So number 5 would be Dishonored 2. I like Dishonored a lot. I'll get around to playing this eventually.
Okay.
Call of Duty, number 4. I heard it's done some good things in the campaign this year. I'm going to end up playing that when it's like super cheap.
Okay, I love that you could say this year it does some good things in the campaign.
Yeah.
This visit to the Call of Duty ethos is
this quarter.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Those games are just dropping in price like they never have before. It's crazy.
Physical games are all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 3 is The Last Guardian. I'm gonna play that. Let's get real.
That's
I
on
got
my list somewhere too.
I got it for my birthday.
Having started that game, I think that will probably be a game that you end up liking.
Yeah, I love Shadow. So
yeah.
And then number 2, Hidden My Game by Mom. The iOS game where you play as the little boy whose mom hid his Nintendo DS. So I'm gonna play that on the airplane tomorrow. Have you guys heard of this? It's like some weird.
I've not heard of this.
It's like a weird kind of. It's a weird ass game, like an art game. It's like in broken English. It's supposed to be really good. And number 1, Frog Factions 2.
Yeah,
I'm gonna play that.
I want to experience that at some point.
I just want to see where I am in it because I backed it at a level to which I am in that game at some point. He emailed me for a picture over the summer. So
have they released like a standalone of that game yet, or do you still have to like download that other game and like?
Yeah, I think it's in the other game. I hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah, I kind of like that. As much as I would like to just get to Frog Fractions 2, I like that I have to work a little bit to get to it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's part of the beauty of that. Just like in the original Frog Fractions, you have to work a little bit to get to it. All right, do you have any superlative lists, Fred, that you want to really just throw out there?
No, I didn't give this as much attention as John did.
I think that's totally valid.
Yeah.
The most my award for the most Last Guardian goes to Overwatch.
Okay, fair enough. The most Last Guardian is Overwatch. All right, let's get into it. Number 10, Fred.
All right, so my number 10 this year was I'm not normally huge on procedurally generated games, but I kind of fell in love with Enter the Gungeon.
Okay.
It is frustratingly hard.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm just terrible at it, but I think it's probably the earlier option. But like I like the art style of it. The gameplay is solid. The variety within the game is pretty good. It it's very rare that a game like that keeps my attention past like the first 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But I found myself going back as that became my filler game for a lot of the year when I was waiting for a download or an update.
Yeah, I
Um,
fell into the same rabbit hole as well.
Yeah, it's definitely as far as those type of games go, I liked it better than like Binding of Isaac, for instance, or something like that. Even though they're conceptually similar, I think like just like the mindlessness of it, I really like.
It's a roguelike alike.
Yeah, it's like a roguelike, but not quite like it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a twin stick shooter as well.
It kind of goes rogue.
It it has an aesthetic to it that I think is really good.
Yeah, it feels more like a Smash TV twin stick shooter than it does a roguelike.
You guys see Rogue One?
I
Yeah.
did see Rogue One.
Man,
That
the
was
part where
roguelike.
the part where like the dude actually says Rogue One, they like really get you. They're like it takes them like 3 fucking minutes to get the words out. Rogue dot 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 one blast off.
It would have been that would have been a good moment in that movie if he said that and then the opening crawl actually happened right there.
Oh my
They
god!
got something lit.
like an hour and 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
You guys know how much of a sucker I am for fucking late title card. Like
God.
my two favorite trends in video games forever: late title card and reversible box art. I mean, come on, those are
Yeah,
my
yeah.
favorite things.
Reversible box art less so, but late title cards, man, that Mass Effect 2 title card,
Oh,
still
was
my
thinking-
absolute favorite.
I was thinking more like Asura's Wrath, where there were 15 title cards.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
Asura's, I take it back. Asura's Wrath is my fucking
Asura's
number.
Wrath is the best game ever made ever.
It's the best game of 2016.
Enter the Gungeon is really good, and I wish I liked it more. Did you ever play Nuclear Throne at all, Fred?
No, I haven't played that.
It's similar roguelike twin stick shooter concept, but it's a lot more fast paced. So I think even more so that pick up and play style, it lends
Right.
itself to that. That might be worth checking out. Number 10, John.
The Witness by Mr. Jonathan Blow is my number 10 game of the year.
I feel like this would have been higher for you.
It would have been probably higher if I like had spent more time with it, like I had finished it. My wife and I played probably, I don't even know, 10, 12 hours. It's hard to even say, like, because like, how time worked. And, we ended up not going back to it. And it's like, the idea of going back to it now is so incredibly intimidating.
It's terrifying,
like,
right?
But the time we spent with it, like I played a shitload of games this year, so even making it on the list is pretty good. I don't know. I'm satisfied with the time I spent with it, but like part of me wants to see what happens,
Yeah.
But I have the feeling at this point that I never will. I only picked up like one audio log, and I was like, this is pretentious.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Did you
God,
see the first like video thing in that game?
I never got to a video thing.
Oh my god, there's FMV in that game.
Oh fuck. Okay, I have to go back to it.
Yeah, you find like this this underground theater, and
No, I think I knew that because there's
they're
like actors in the
Yeah,
credits.
yeah, they're actors in the credits, and it plays these videos of like these philosophical conversation. Oh my god, you would love it. It's
I feel like in that game it's pronounced theater.
fair enough. Yeah, accurate.
And it was such a haunting, like, cool experience. And like to do the puzzles with my wife, and like we're taking pictures and sketching things, and like it was a really great co-op experience.
Did you have like a favorite mechanic of the puzzles in that game?
I like drawing the lines from
Okay, all right, cute.
I don't know, because like the actual solving the puzzles, I think in the route, the sort of building where with a like you have to look at things through a certain filtered
The
glass.
greenhouse.
Yeah, I thought that was fun and like not too difficult. It was like nice and clever. I think the first time you do something in the like, oh, man, I feel like I remember like sort of the pagoda, the sort of like temple area. That's
Yeah.
like when you're like kind of doing things that aren't, because it's not in like one of the boards at that point, right?
Yeah. There's stuff in and out all over the world that does that.
It
I
was
really
just
like
really cool.
I really like the castle where you're like going through the hedge mages and you have to listen to your footprints and where you don't hear, or where you hear footprints, or where you don't hear footprints is where you then go to the panel and draw the line.
Oh, that's how you did that. I was not understanding that.
Yeah, it's really cool. There's cool stuff in that game, but yeah, there's FMV, so you should probably go back.
Okay, yeah, I should.
Number 9, Fred.
Okay, so this is the first of my hate fuck entries.
Okay.
This
Classic
game,
Fred.
and truth be told, this is a game I did not buy a full copy of after it was out publicly, and it's Overwatch.
Okay.
I stopped playing Overwatch during the beta, so I'm basing all of my review on what I played and what happened after.
Okay.
And here's the reason Overwatch I think is not only meriting a spot on my list, but important. Like, it's a perfectly fine, competent role-based shooter. Like, I don't think it's really that
Team Fortress 3, right?
Yeah, it's
I
Team
think
Fortress
that's what I
3.
heard
That's
it
really
called
what it
on the
is.
Bombcast.
And it's a fine game for people who like that stuff. But never in my life have I witnessed a game have this much fucking cosplay before it's been released to the public. It's like Blizzard must have released goddamn blueprints or something like that. I don't like this game. When it was announced, I think it basically already had a fan following of like, I've never seen loyalists of this level. Like, Trump supporters aren't this big into their guy. Like it just, they were just instantly Overwatch people, and it was an instant hit before it was released, and it's still going strong, even though, like, I don't know, it's the type of game that I feel like should be free. Free to play model rather. But like, because I cannot justify spending dollars on that game. But it just for what it accomplished, and I don't know, it's just a marketing triumph. Like, every video game should look at how they marketed that and go like, yeah, we can sell our game that way.
Especially Battleborn.
Oh,
Battleborn. You can buy a copy of Battleborn now for like $5, but I'm not even sure it's worth that because I don't even know if the servers are up anymore.
It only took 9 months, 7 months. Oh boy, for Battleborn.
whatever. Fuck Randy Pitchford. He seems like a real douche.
I have this feeling Battleborn might actually have been a decent MOBA, but it just could not compete with Overwatch. There's no way.
Yeah, that's what you're speaking to. That is the power of the Blizzard.
Yeah, no,
the typhoon of the Blizzard.
They are. There should be some antitrust laws. I mean, like, it's actually kind of scary that they're able to do that with every title that they put out. Like,
they're a force of nature in video games, and it is legitimately terrifying.
Yeah.
What about you, John? Number 9.
Number 9. Number 9 is quite a doozy, Alex.
All right.
Number 9 is Final Fantasy XV.
I believe it's pronounced.
I believe it's pronounced Versus 13.
This is my fuckboy game of the year. This game is. I have played it for 40 hours.
Wow.
I can go to the end. I can go to the last chapter right now if I wanted, but I'm doing some stuff because as we figured out a couple days ago, I didn't realize there was a leveling up mechanic. I missed an entire menu entry of putting attribute points into attributes. I'm bad at video games.
And like it's funny. I talked about this on IP because on the most recent episode because I thought it was hilarious. And Scott brought up the very true point that you had like some 800 and some odd AP when you finally discovered there was a place where you could spend it. And like he was like, yeah, that's not even counting the AP he would have gotten if he had gotten the techniques that allow you to get more AP.
Yeah, don't remind me. So that said, instead of talking about the things I like about this game, I've got a long list. I had a top 10 of things that bother me about this game. So I just have like 18 number ones because I just had trouble making the list. The number 10, in order to understand the story, you need to watch an anime. Number 9, you need to watch an anime after you watch a movie. Number 8, there are no steps in the sand. If you're walking on the beach, like, no fucking steps appear, man. Like, that's PS2 level shit.
Well, John, that's because when you were walking through the beach,
That's
and
because
you
that
were
was
by
when
yourself.
Jesus carried you.
Gladio was carrying you the whole time.
Yeah. Number 7, quote, fast travel is not fast. Number 6, the loading times are atrocious. Number 5, characters who are not those 4 cute boys are just not very good characters. Number 4, poor Cindy. Seems like it would be hard to work on cars dressed like that. Number 3, pacing is it's weird at times. It feels like there's like pieces, whole pieces of that game missing. Number 2, the dungeon design is not great. Number 1, if I'm really like trying to save the world or whatever, man, like, do I really have time to go fishing? And
Oh, this is
not
coming from a person who has not played enough Final Fantasy games.
the fishing
Yeah.
is so bad. Number 1,
I love the fishing.
it's a lifeless open world. Number 1, I feel like I'm never getting any good weapons, or I'm never finding good weapons. Here's another thing I figured out pretty late. Apparently, like, you're not really supposed to use those royal arms that much because they take your health away. Yeah, I'm bad at video games.
Yep.
What did I write here? Oh, okay. Number 1.
Again, this is the third number 1 worth establishing.
I don't even know what it is. This just says anime bullshit. Okay, number 1. So the next number 1 is the combat feels a lot like the combat from Two Human. Did anybody play Two Human?
No.
Yeah, the combat's similar. Number 1, what the fuck is up with Luna Freya's brother? Like, he's just like, I don't understand what that guy was doing, and then he's just whatever. That was weird. And then number 1, the real number 1 is there's no PC version. This game looks like ass. I wish it was on PC.
All right. Cool.
So that said, I feel like I really really like it despite all these flaws, and it feels like the most well realized like Dreamcast game in a lot of ways because of some of those kind of flaws. It's like, this is just kind of weird and Sega-ish in a lot of places, and that I'm like a real mark for because I love the Sega Dreamcast.
Oh, you should so go back and play some of those old Sega Dreamcast JRPGs and like do a side by side, because some of them are
like
really good.
Like some Grandia 2
or Skies of Arcadia.
Hell
Ooh,
yeah.
I know you love that Skies of Arcadia. Yeah, but I mean, like, a lot of the stuff is just kind of fun. I think, like, despite like me not really loving the graphics, like, I think it has a really cool style to it. If I could be like a little bit more contradictory, I don't. It's really hard to pin down why I've put so much time into it, but I've. It's so weird that I've like sunk so much time into this game. I like it a lot.
How about this? I think it was described to me very well. The game is far superior than the sum of its parts.
Absolutely. It all comes together. Well, it comes together. It kind of comes together.
The mistakes meet the triumphs together is just a great thing total.
Mm-hmm. Except for chapter 13. That was just inexcusably bad. The corridors. Oh, that was painful.
I feel like, John, you need to go back in time and
really
play
like that
Final
chapter.
Fantasy X, but then just play that so you can play Final Fantasy X2, which was it was, by all metrics, it was terrible, but it's hitting the same notes that you're saying right now.
Oh man, that reminds me of another game I meant to play this year that I didn't. Tokyo Mirage Sessions #FE.
I have that in the shrink wrap, and I'm looking at it right now. God, I wish I played that this year.
Me
But
too.
I think X2 is right up your alley because you instead of playing a boy band, you play like a idol pop band.
Yeah, that's why I want to play Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
That's true. You get a little bit of both in that game. All right. Well, I guess also games that we hate. Fred, number 8.
I don't hate it. I really like it. It's my number 9.
I'm gonna lump 8 and 7 together because it's a very important milestone in my life. So you may or may not know this about me. I'm a fairly competitive gamer, and before I was like big into video games, I mean, I've always played video games, but before I was big into them, I played a lot of Magic, still do, and I play a number of card games, and most of them I play because I really enjoy the sense of competition and like having like, oh, I achieved this rank, I'm this rank in the world at this game or something like that. This was the year that Fred succumbed to MOBAs.
Oh
Oh
boy.
God, dude.
Oh yeah. But in my typical fashion, I couldn't just play League of Legends or Dota because those are too cool. That's where all the scumbags are hanging out. I can't hang out with
If
those people.
you are about to say vainglory on this podcast, I'm about to lose my mind.
I am about to say Vainglory and Paragon.
Oh my god! And Paragon.
Yep, both of them.
This is the best top 10 podcast.
So
What the fuck? I know. I think I ostensibly know what Paragon is. What is the other thing you're saying right now?
It is a iOS MOBA.
well, it's a mobile MOBA. It's only for mobile devices.
Because your boy's on Android.
on Android.
Pardon me.
But so Paragon is a more MOBAs have the tradition of being a 5v5 matchup. Paragon is that. I got into that one because it was free on PSN. It was just there 1 month. So I was like, all right, I'll get the free Founders Pack and play through this because of my PS Plus membership, and I got hooked. And I got pretty decent at it, and then they changed the entire game like a month and a half ago. Like fundamentally at its core level, they just like redesigned the entire game from scratch. And in a lot of ways, it's better. In a lot of ways, it's worse because it became a little bit too
Real.
predictable. I would say like the matches sort of follow a formula. They feel like blackjack a little bit more than anything now, where it's like when you sit down on the blackjack table, you're supposed to play a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
There's this expectation that you're going to play that certain way, and the problem I have with that is that it sort of drags out matches. Like you don't really have a lot of wiggle room to like, I'm going to rush a tower and try to get there. I'm going to surprise them with my off the walls tactic. It's more about knowing your team, knowing your roles, knowing your lanes, so on and so forth. Which is why I bring up Vainglory. I actually really like Vainglory because it's 3-on-3. So it's quicker to find a match. The matches don't take 45 minutes, they take 20. And the character variety is a lot more open. Plus I can like play it when I'm like waiting for a meeting in the office or something like that. It's a quicker time sink. But it's also like it just they really did think about the mechanics of that game on iOS and on mobile and stuff, and it shows. So hopefully this addiction is not going to spread to other titles. Like I can't ever imagine myself playing an established MOBA like League of Legends because it's too late for someone.
But
like
if it
me to do
happens, I'm gonna be so into it.
Bro, what about Heroes of the Storm, man?
No, I couldn't do that.
Don't even bring up Heroes of the Storm.
I thought about it, but no. No, actually, for what it's worth, most of those games, like the reason I started playing them is because like the community was small enough that like my competitive streak came in. So I was like,
Dude, you're a hipster.
I know.
Like you're like, oh, I can't play like too mainstream of a MOBA.
Exactly.
Here's my cold brew coffee and my artisanal fucking baguette.
Yeah, no, I'm playing locally sourced MOBAs, but it's a farm to table MOBA is what it is. But no, like this is where my competitive streak comes in though, because like I've always played Magic, but I recognize that the competition there and just like the size of the play environment was too great. Like it's almost impossible to like become like a top ranked player. But like I played a lot of smaller sort of like indie card games back in the day, and I was good at them, and I was someone within that community.
I could have been someone. I could have been a contender.
I mean, like I'm glad. I think that more to you than anyone else probably came as a surprise when that really clicked with you. I really like the nature and the grind of playing a MOBA. It's just like the investment of time is what always puts me off.
Man, I can't believe I don't even think I have a phone game that really grabbed me this year. Man,
that is surprising. You usually have one on your list too.
Yeah.
No Super Mario Run for you?
Oh, if you listen to our full podcast, that's on my list of greatest disappointments of this year.
Okay.
So I played some like clicker heroes earlier in the year, but nah. It turns out I don't like idle games.
But what about number 8? That's a game that you like, hopefully.
So number 8 is a game that I like. Look at this on my list, and this is like the fucking Pix the Cat.
I was about to say Pix the Cat. Here we go.
This is the Pix the Cat of this year. I was like, up until just a second ago, I'm like, man, I could just like cut this out and put super hot instead, and like no one will know. But the truth is, I had a great time with my number 8 game, Broforce.
Okay.
So I went to Maine in October and it was cold as shit, and I don't know what happened. Like me and my brother-in-law ended up downloading Broforce and playing it for hours and hours and hours at night. Just man, that's a fun run and gun arcadey type shooty game. It's so much fun. Like
Use
the
your
dumb
words, John. Use your words.
well, it's got the it's got these dumb the dumb action heroes with it'll be like now I'm struggling to it's like MacGyver or the Terminator, but they'll like replace their names with like bro. So it'll be like the Brominator or something like that. It's like it's pretty good.
These are all names that you've used before the game.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird that this game is punching above its weight on my list. Like it doesn't like I could look at other games I played this year and like that is a better game. But I just I had such a great time with it on vacation, playing it with my brother-in-law. So that is it.
Timing is a big part of it, and like the other people that I've done this with that had Broforce on their list, I feel like had similar stories of like, yeah, I sat down with this person and played Broforce, and we just had a great time with it. So.
Yeah, I can't. I played it by myself. There's no way it's on my list, right? Like it's just like it would be okay. Here's a dumb thing I did for a few minutes, but I played hours of it.
Mm-hmm.
So my number 7 game, which should be higher on my list, is straight up should be, but it also ended up being one of my biggest disappointments is Doom.
Really?
Yeah. So
there's a story for this.
Yeah, my save got corrupted.
Oh man!
And that is just really discouraging.
Yeah,
it's like hearing someone's cat died, right?
Yeah,
dude. Holy shit!
Man, it's a really good game, but it's hard to justify like doing the first 7 hours again or whatever.
Yeah, I mean the same thing happened to me with like Dragon Age Inquisition, although I don't think that is quite as good not nearly as good a game as Doom, but not a great game. But I had a similar like save corruption thing, so
that would, yeah, man. In an RPG, game, that could be even like even crazier.
It's over.
Just like I'm so pressed for time that I would love to get back to Doom eventually because that game is fucking amazing. It's definitely one of the coolest games. This was a shooter year, man.
Yes.
Such a good year for shooters. Like nobody thought that Doom was gonna come out and be as fucking badass as it is.
Yeah.
But you have to look at like the post Carmack sort of id properties as like, man, Wolfenstein was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Doom is really good. Like,
what's coming next?
I don't think
Wolfenstein, presumably, and
that Quake thing looks. It doesn't look like what I want out of this. Like I want another crazy ass weird single player thing. Like I want to be surprised by that. But like, dude, Doom was fucking legit. Like that game is constantly firing at all cylinders and like is over the top in a way that is just so endearing in a way. You're like, oh wow, this is like, it feels fucking like genuine. Like they're not trying so goddamn hard. They are just naturally being this badass. Also like that fucking like the music in that game. It's so cool. It's so cool.
That double barrel shotgun is all I needed. Oh
yeah. It's weapon of the year. Fred, did you play Doom?
Oh yeah, I did.
Oh yeah, so
save wasn't corrupted.
So I imagine it's higher on your list.
It might be.
Okay. Yeah. Gosh, that's I know you love that shit.
I would say, John, give it some space and come back to it like when you've forgotten most of it, like maybe like in a year and a half or something, and I think that game might like just it'll fire on all cylinders in a beautiful way again. So
yeah, it runs like a fucking dream on my PC too. Like
it runs incredibly well on literally everything, which is awesome.
Screams by at 250 frames per second.
Fred, what about number 6?
So number 6. Okay, this might be my controversial pick.
Okay.
So my number 6 is Inside.
Okay. Whoa.
This is another hate fuck item.
What? Okay,
Yes.
see, we talked about this on the other half of the podcast, and I think we're gonna. I'm ready because I've played it since we recorded the other half, and let's do this.
Okay, so here's my issue with Inside. Like the reason it's on the list is because like if you were a fledgling gamer or someone who's never played this type of game before, this is a great experience. It is a great game to play through because it does a lot of things that other video games do or don't do rather. Just like Limbo did. The problem I have with it is it's fucking Limbo. It's the exact same goddamn game. And I mean that not only mechanically, like, yeah, the puzzles are a little bit rearranged, but it's still those puzzles. Um, the flow of the game is very similar to Limbo, like the sort of the ramp up and you know where in the story progression the twists happen. My bigger issue with it is it's the same team, it's the same people, it's not a direct continuation of Limbo, but it's the same thing. It makes me feel like Playdead might just be a one trick pony, and I'm really sort of getting tired of like the quote unquote art game with the interpret your own
John
narrative.
is so upset for people listening to the audio.
Like I can't even
I can't.
I couldn't possibly disagree more. I think it's just like a beautiful evolution of some of those some of those like things that felt so new in Limbo. I think what's really interesting about Inside, if you want to say like really compared to Limbo, is like I feel like Limbo would get you. It was out to get you, right? Like it would kill you out of fucking nowhere, and then you had to go back and kind of learn that. In this, you if you die, like when you're going through, or if your character dies, you're like, oh well, yeah, I should have seen that coming. Like it's not, it doesn't like
there was, I mean, there were still parts though that were out to get you, like especially at the very opening sequence when you're running from the guys chasing you. Like there's a lot of like, oh, you tripped over a hidden branch and now they shot you and you're dead.
I feel like that's to teach you like the stakes, right? That like
Yeah,
death can come so
agreed.
fast and quick, right?
But there were a lot of scenes in that game, especially the ones with the dogs. That
fuck those dogs.
yeah,
Fuck those.
those always felt like they were trying to like, fuck you. Here's some dogs.
I think like Playdead does something incredibly well, and I might be interested in seeing what else is out there. But like realistically, like I can't think of. I mean, I don't see a lot, or at least there's like that's coming into my field of view that like is really this type of game. And we'll talk about it more later. I thought you were going to complain about the ambiguous ending.
Well, I mean, the ending.
And you got both endings.
As is the whole game
ambiguous, but
I mean, I got and yes, I did get the alternate ending, but I mean, I feel like the ending is not ambiguous compared to the rest of the game. I feel like the whole game is ambiguous. It's the ending where it kind of matters to people because they're left with a cliffhanger. I'm actually sort of okay with that. Like, I feel like that's a lost art form. I hate like when like a movie ends with sort of like a like the Inception ending, right? And then the entire internet explodes like, well, what's the ending? What happens? Like they don't understand that the ending is you not knowing or is ambiguous. Everything needs to be fucking spoon fed to people now.
Gamers are a little bit more. I feel like we, as a group, kind of need to be told very explicitly what something means. Not a lot of nuance. Not a lot of nuance in this group of ours.
So I'm okay with the ending being what it was, but I don't know that I'm okay with the entire game being that, and that was sort of my thing. Like
it's your number fucking 6, though.
But once again, it's my number 6 because to me, it's the same game as Limbo, and Limbo would deserve a placement the year it came out for sure. Like Limbo was a monumental achievement when it came out.
Ah, gosh, I love this as much, if not more, than Limbo.
I still think I like Limbo a little more. I like the art style behind Limbo a little bit more.
I totally understand like where you're coming from though, Fred. Like I empathize with it. For me, like the execution is so key here. Like I think Limbo was a great first step, but Playdead executes on the idea that Limbo wanted to do better, and it shows how much they've grown, how much they understand beats. And like John pointed out on Twitter, like the game doesn't play with your time. It doesn't. There's no filler in that game. it is.
Well, and that's true. I mean, like I said, they definitely, learned from their past experience, but I also would expect them to have done that. Like,
Mhm.
if they hadn't, we'd be complaining about the fact that they didn't learn anything.
Yeah, for me,
Yeah.
the growth was substantial. Like a growth I don't see from one game to another a lot, personally.
Fair enough. And maybe it's just me starting to get done with this. I don't know what genre you would call these type of games.
That approach to game design, maybe just in
It's like
general.
it's like sort of an indie adventure puzzle platformer.
It's
Artisanal.
also kind of a walking sim, like
Well,
in a
listen,
lot of ways.
17 years from now, when they release their final of the trilogy or whatever is going to happen, like if it's the same game with some mechanical upgrades, I'm not going to be happy.
Yeah,
I can't wait. I love this fucking team. They're one of my favorites, I think, now because Limbo. I mean, we did Limbo in Game Club,
Very
back
early
in the
on.
day. Man, this team, they're good. They're good at
Yeah,
what they do.
Here's what's going to happen, John, is because you want a third title, because you want them to do more, that's going to be their last Guardian.
it's gonna be a
Oh,
twin
it's gonna
six
take.
shooter.
Oh, it's gonna take 10 years,
Like
dude.
I'm saying,
I
like,
mean,
the timing between these is similar.
whatever
from
they
time
do, dude.
going.
Whatever they do, like I'm excited. I if they change it up and they do a lighthearted fucking comedy game, whatever, dude. Like,
I
somehow doubt that.
I tend to lean more with John on this one. So
Fair
I was Limbo was one of the first games of that kind that I ever played because I like didn't play Braid or anything before that era that kind of started to touch on those things. So Limbo was my introductory art game, you could say, and I really loved it. So
I mean, I don't want to like get all super hipstery here. Like, I feel like it's there's some art games out there, some like 10-minute weird ass shit. Like, we've played some of them on Game Club, like that are just about an idea rather than trying to make anything an idea expressed through gameplay that's not trying to be fun or really even that engaging. Just kind of there to be consumed and then thought about. This is a much more mainstream, like digestible approach, and I think like, man, I just really like this team.
Yeah.
Glad it's your number 6, Fred. Glad it's your number 6.
You're
I get it.
welcome, John.
I get it. What about your number 6, John?
My number 6 is Gears of War 4. I don't think there's much I need to say. It is a very good Gears of War game.
But it is very much a Gears of War game.
It is Gears of War. It is very good. There are some colorful environments. Marcus Phoenix is fucking awesome. Like, it is the way they embrace that they're, sort of an action movie sequel, like the way they tease certain characters coming back, like they go back to the well without it feeling super forced. And I was ready. It turns out I was ready for another Gears of War game.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I didn't play Judgment. Maybe the time where I needed another Gears of War game would have been longer if I had played Judgment.
Fred played Judgment. He's the only one.
I played and liked Judgment. I don't care what anyone says. That game was Gears of War. People didn't like the story because it didn't have Marcus in it.
Fair enough.
I think it's weird because Tom Bissell wrote the story, right? And like, I
Yes.
really like Tom Bissell. So blurp.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I went 2 hours into Judgment and was like, I just bounced off of it. And I like Baird. I'm like the one person that likes fucking Baird. Actually,
I like
Fred likes
Baird.
Baird too.
I like
Me and Fred
Baird.
like. Oh wow, we should form like a Baird appreciation podcast.
I begrudgingly like Baird, but I think Baird's funny. I know everyone thinks he's just a piece of shit.
I know. I think he's great. Like, he's saying this shit. I would say he's like the guy in the like horror movie who's
He
like,
is
"Are you
John
sure
Anderson.
we should not be going? Like, are you crazy? We're
He was the
splitting
hot
up.
guy
Why would?"
in Cabin in the Woods, right? Like, that was his character.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's all right in my book.
Uncle Baird.
Uncle Baird. Number 5.
And he facilitates giant fucking robots. So
That's true. He gets robots done.
Yeah.
Number 5, Fred.
So number 5 for me was a game I backed on Kickstarter.
Bias.
full disclosure. Full disclosure. We need a drop for that.
So let's talk about art games, shall we?
Let's do
Super
it.
Hot to me is
Super.
the art game. It's not the art game we wanted. It's the art game we needed this year.
So is Super Hot VR apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I didn't even realize I got it for free. I'm so jazzed. Like, because I backed it on Kickstarter too, and then my buddy was like, "Oh, did you get Super Hot VR?" I'm like, I didn't feel like spending $30 on it. He's like, no, you were a backer, you get it for free. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm gonna play that when I get back to Seattle.
Yeah, but I really liked Super Hot. Mechanically, it does something very interesting. Like the whole the conceit of the game is that you can stop time, or I guess it's more radically slow time down because things do still move. And you can sort of plan out these 30-second sequences in meticulous detail, and basically it's the Matrix slowed down. I love that about the game mechanically. It felt more like a puzzle game than a shooter, obviously enough. And then when it came to cryptic nonsense storylines, Super Hot had that in spades because there is no.
Oh, it's so good. It scratches that. I don't know why it's not on my fucking list. I probably didn't finish it, but it scratches that hotline itch, man.
Oh yeah.
So
that's exactly where I was going with it. And then like there's something about it, like it being a Kickstarter and actually not being a complete disappointment, and then being done by an entirely Polish development team. I don't know. There's a special piece of it. Also, what's up with Poland lately in games?
Yeah, they're killing it, man.
I know. I was actually reading a thing about that. Like the reason Poland is so popular with game development is because it's so goddamn cheap to work there. So, crossing my fingers. But Super Hot, I think, did something great. I think that there's mechanics from this game that easily could be emulated in titles in the future. I think like the whole slowdown mechanic for this game could easily be applied to, like, I don't want to say Call of Duty, but any FPS in the future. Like, you take your stim and then all of a sudden you get to do that shit. Like it seems pretty rad.
Yeah, it's one I'm really bummed that I didn't end up getting to this year.
You should, because it's only like a few hours long at the most. Too.
Yeah, it seems very, very cool.
It belongs on my list. I feel bad. Fucking a Bro Force is on my list. What the fuck am I doing? What am I doing with my fucking life? Super Hot is a better game than Bro Force. God damn it.
Well, it's too late now.
I'm living my life with regret.
You committed, bro.
Good. You committed to the Bro Force, bro.
Hot. I can't wait to play the VR. I'm gonna finish that when I get home.
I'm sure VR would have probably made the Super VR would have probably made it on your list.
Well, I'm kind of cheating with. We'll get to that. So my number 5 is the first of 2 horror games, indie horror games on my list. Oxenfree.
Okay.
Oxenfree is it's a adventure game. It's a horror adventure game.
I really want to play Oxenfree
with some Cthulhu-esque fucking stuff.
It's got some teens in it, apparently.
It's got teens. It's got some really interesting things it does with the dialogue. Oh fuck, I said interesting things. So it
interesting stuff, would you say?
Yeah, interesting stuff. So like the dialogue works in that you can sort of miss conversations and they happen while you're doing things. They don't pause the game to like, oh, now I'm in conversation mode. You can like you carry on and you can miss things, and you could like respond to one person and not the other, and this forms your social links.
All right, go on.
And I found it really cool because I didn't know what it was going in. I thought I'd seen the art style. I heard it was an adventure game with teens, which obviously me and teens. I did not realize it was creepy. I like didn't know shit about it. So then it also does it has a weird mechanic that involves your friends who have also played it. I didn't really get that. It's got an ending that is, it's got a bit of a fuck you ending, which I really like. There's a lot of cool visual stuff, like VHS effects. It's we played it we do a game club at work now, and we played it as part of that. It was just, man, this game it gripped the shit out of me. I really liked it.
No, it's
creepy. Oh, it's creepy.
If I didn't know what game you were talking about, I would swear to God I think you're talking about Gone Home.
Really? I would say we're like Until Dawn.
So
but not.
Here's the thing. I do think it didn't succeed in being truly scary because of the art style, but it does pull off creepy. There's a lot of interesting audio mechanics in it. I really think interesting. you should play Oxenfree. Oxenfree is a real good Vigia game if you're into that sort of if you're into John Anderson games. It's a very John Anderson game.
Okay. I'm into John Anderson games usually.
I'll allow it.
Fair enough. What about number 4, Fred?
All right, number 4. It's a pretty recent one for me, and this is a game I bought because of a price drop, which I think happened like 2 weeks after it was released or something like that for the Christmas season, which is always a good sign. But it turns out I actually adore this game, and I never thought I would. It's Titanfall 2.
Yeah, finally.
Dude,
never
that's
thought.
Great, man. I'm so happy you like it.
I'm not big on first-person shooters, but this feels different. This doesn't feel like a Call of Duty. It feels like a Mirror's Edge almost with guns and robots. But I bought it. It was like $40 when I grabbed it, and I was just like, I'm going to be home for 2 weeks during break. I need games. I picked it up, and I picked it up solely because of the story mode. I was like, I can finally play. I couldn't play the first one. I'm like, I'm not going to pay full retail price for a game that's just online and then won't exist when another online game comes out that sucks all the people away.
In its defense, Titanfall 1 is really good, though.
It's real good.
It's really good.
No one's playing it anymore.
Like I have never ever got into a multiplayer only game before in my life, and I got into that game.
Well, fair enough. But so this one, the multiplayer is great. I'm sure it's as great as the first one was. You know what I mean? Like, I've actually started playing the multiplayer as of like the last week and a half. I'm getting pretty decent at it. Like, I'll never be great at it, but I enjoy it. But the story was actually surprisingly good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And
press RB to time travel. That's fucking that's all time, man. That's fucking time. That was
middle sequence is incredible. And even near the end where they try to like, do the man's best friend relationship with your robot. Like,
BT.
I mean, I don't know that it hits as hard as other emotional games have hit us, but the game does feel like it's not a standard shooter. It doesn't quite feel like some of the better stuff we've played yet, but it feels better than like I think a regular Call of Duty would be.
I think
it's not Spec Ops, but
it's I think like the decision to pace that game the way that they did of like, hey, we're gonna do a thing and then we're gonna do a lot of that thing and then we're gonna completely drop it and move on to something completely new.
Right,
is awesome.
They figured out a bunch of fun shit and then they tied it together.
Yeah, and I mean the sequences are really well done. My only gripe with this game would be that I don't think we're getting any storyline DLC, and I kind of wish we would.
Yeah, I wish that they would just make more cool levels for that game.
Yeah, I really like the single. I don't know, man. Like the online multiplayer is just dominating games that I like, and it's sort of ruining some of them. But like, yeah, definitely worth playing this game, and it's very high on my list for a reason. It would probably be higher, except that like I feel like I have a lot of similar titles on my list this year.
Yeah,
and you'll see why shortly.
You're the shooter, man. Yeah, okay. Now
you're the shooty guy.
Apparently, 2016, you're the shooty guy.
Yeah, I mean it was a good year for first-person shooters, so I cannot blame you. Number 4, John.
Here's a cheater, right? So VR stuff.
Yeah.
Google VR stuff. So Google Earth VR and Tilt Brush are the things that you can put a VR headset on somebody, give them touch controllers or give them the the Vive controllers or whatever, and you're like the person, and they get it fucking instantly. These are not games, but they're just so goddamn cool.
Yeah, but John, what is game?
What is game? Well, Google Earth VR is fucking Google Earth. It's maps and shit. Like it's maybe the most like I forget. Did we talk about this on Tyler's top 10?
Yeah, we did.
The way it's like overwhelming, like emotionally overwhelming. There's no storyline. I'm not watching a fucking kitten get run over or something. But like I like found myself like getting like just overcome. I'm verklempt. No, I just like during the demo sequence, and then like going to the street I live on now, and like going to my parents' street, and like standing on top of the Eiffel Tower, and I don't know, it's crazy. And
The
then
storyline for that is we live in the goddamn future now.
yeah, dude, this is like, yeah, I just you put somebody in that, and my wife like finally got it. She's like, okay, VR, yep, I got it. And then tilt brush is a great thing to do where you get real stoned and then you draw a bunch of dicks in VR.
I'm sorry, you sculpt a bunch of cocks in VR.
Yeah, it's
You
really
form
good.
them. That's an art
You
game.
mold the clay that is virtual penis.
Well, a medium, Oculus Medium is pretty good for making like a voluminous dick. But if you want to, yeah, so those are two things that everybody should like. They're so approachable, like experiences. Anybody can just hop in and do those things, and they're just so cool. Um, I think like the hype around VR has obviously died down a little bit, but I I am a true believer. Like this is the future. Absolutely. Mixed reality is whether it's AR VR and a mixture of the two, it's absolutely the future of computing, like of entertainment, of lots of stuff. So while like that,
John, can't
fuck
wait.
it, yeah. So after the initial hype is like kind of dying down, but I wholeheartedly believe this is 2017 is going to be even more of a banger. Microsoft's their VR stuff is coming out where with the partners who've made headsets, and I think we're in that interesting weird spot where there's like a bunch of stuff, and thankfully a lot of it works together with the exception of Sony has like their shit walled off right now. But it's so exciting. I kind of want to also mention Rec Room. Rec Room is just like one of the coolest multiplayer things I've ever done. So number 4 is VR stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's odd, but also kind of cool to have a thing that justifies something like this. It's important, I think. But yeah, everything I've heard about the Google Earth stuff has been
it's so cool. It's so cool.
Man, I have that thing on my phone. I should probably try it.
Yeah, I mean, give it a shot. The first time I put on an Oculus Rift, I just immediately I was on board. Like whatever, I was.
Yeah, the touch controllers make it. Like using
I haven't used those at all.
Yeah,
so.
using a standard Xbox controller for doing anything except for like cockpit games is kind of not great. The touch controllers are better than the Vive controllers, and but like now I finally get what Vive owners were talking about. Hand tracking is absolutely important. Room scale is really good. Phone VR could be pretty cool. The problem with it is it's all like 3 degrees freedom tracking, and you really need to have the depth stuff to really have some of the really cool things you can do in like Tilt Brush and Google Earth. Yeah.
VR, man. Number 3, Fred.
Okay, so we're getting into the point of the list where like it became difficult for me to like sort of figure out which game belonged where.
Yeah.
So I'm sure this next one's going to offend John. My number 3 is Firewatch.
Why would it offend me? I love that game.
Higher.
I mean, no, it's yeah.
Top 3 is still good. I love Firewatch as well, which is good to have to know that there are other people that like Firewatch.
I also like Firewatch.
Yeah,
it fucking really like oh my god,
it's
so
Firewatch
good.
and Baird and no, yeah, I have. Yeah.
So here's the thing about Firewatch. The itch that this game scratched to me was the Gone Home itch, but with more words. It's cool that it's a game, but it also has like a lot of like non-game stuff. Like there's a lot of that. I don't want to call it filler because it does stretch out the experience and the story, but like there's a lot of mundane tasks and things that don't add to the overarching plot line, but to develop character and to develop setting, which I think was important for the game. And I like that it once again it doesn't hold your hand storyline wise. Like it's a real story that happens to real people and doesn't necessarily have a definitive And like, I'm sure that there's a lot of gamers out there right now asking, but what does she look like? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it wasn't spoon fed to you. But
This
it's a
is not the game for them.
yeah, no, this is definitely
And,
not the game for them.
and I
Those are
don't,
the kind of people who would say Gone Home is not a game. So
Right.
I got no time for those fucking
and
people.
it wasn't about that also. Like,
No, of course. And then the other thing, the other reason this reminds me of Gone Home so much, and the reason when you described Oxenfree to me, sort of rang to me, is that these games are not supposed to be scary, like they're not horror games. But I swear to God,
Oh my
without
god! My
dude.
fucking skin jumped off.
right,
yeah, dude.
I did not know with either of these games what I was walking into when I started playing them. I swear to God, the entire time I played Gone Home until about the last 10% of that game, I thought there were going to be zombies. I thought something was going to fucking kill me in that game. And in this game, maybe a little bit more tempered because I had gone through Gone Home, but I started to get that feeling as well,
Yeah.
like something was going to happen. And it's funny, like the fact that it kind of doesn't, but like there are still like those moments where you're
Things
like,
happen, but something doesn't happen. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the antagonist of the game and to some extent the protagonist of the game are creepy, and that doesn't end when you find like the guy's hovel later on in the game. You know what I mean? Like it's not like these are not normal things, but it wasn't like horror. You know, it doesn't hit you over the head like a Resident Evil does, but like there's a creepiness factor to this game that sort of stayed with me, even though when you look back at it in retrospective, like it's a very bright and shiny setting. Everyone's sort of like Team Fortress 2 proportions and happy, and you know, you know, everything's very bright and colorful. But like, they did something great with this game. It's just a real triumph in storytelling, if nothing else.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, you know, and maybe it would be even higher on my list if I remembered it better. But it came out so early in the year already. That and there were so many games this year that maybe I'm not remembering it as fondly as I did, but it is my number 3.
Yeah. It's very cool, and like I played that game a little early, so I got to kind of play it sealed off, like in a vacuum. And I like seeing that whole game, and there was you know, obviously like a running joke of what is Firewatch, and like that whole opening sequence with like the dialogue choices and everything, or not even dialogue choices, but the choices that you make.
You mean when you're playing a text adventure in the beginning?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
it's like
It's so good.
it's like that none of that was shown or prefaced or anything at all. So when it opens with that, and it's this very, very real thing of this guy about his wife, and it's like, I didn't even know what to expect, but I knew exactly what it was. Kind of, it reminded me a little bit of the opening for The Last of Us, where it like set the tone in a way that you kind of knew what was going to happen after that point, but you were really strapped in for what that was going to be. So.
Yes, I have a bunch of things. I'll mention it when it's my turn to talk about Firewatch.
Number 3, John.
My number 3 is Inside. I played this 2 days ago after doing Tyler's top 10. You know, I bought it when it first came out. I didn't play. I like played like 5 minutes, and then something happened, and you know, I didn't end up going back to it right away. It's tight. The game is tight. It doesn't waste your time. Everything has a purpose. They are just they're so good at doing these type of games, as we've kind of alluded to, and I don't necessarily need them to switch it yet. Who knows? Maybe, you know, we thought Rocksteady was super good at Batman games, and then make Batman, you know, Arkham Knight, and you're like, okay, maybe we are sick of them doing this. But Playdead is fucking crushing it. The ambiguity of what's going on in the world is just so great. Like, and I get to like think to myself like, oh, what is this a commentary on? And you know, and I think it's in a lot of ways it's on the, and I've read interesting theories, and it's like, I love that it's on the reader to really interpret.
Yeah.
And gosh, it's just like, you know, I might call it, I would definitely call this a horror game as well.
Yeah, more in like a traditional sense too.
Yeah, so this well, yeah. So these are the 2 horror games I played: is Inside and Oxenfree. Oxenfree is very much a horror game as well. But yeah, Inside. Oof, so glad I went back and played it. I kind of wish I made time to play Abzu as well, which was on Tyler's list. But those are the two I was like, I'm gonna get to those right away. Man, Inside. Woo.
Yeah, there's an atmosphere that game builds is just incredible. I think. Number 2, Fred.
My number 2 ties in with one of the larger purchases I made this year. I bought and I finally broke down and bought an Xbox, as you all know, an Xbox One, and it's ugly and red and has battle damage on it because I bought the Gears 4 Xbox. Which I should mention, I had to turn this off, but when you turn it on, it plays like a MIDI sound effect of like when you find like an item in the game.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Oh, it's
you turned it off? You turned it off? I love
turn
it
on and off, but you can't change it to like the default. It's like it's locked to the system apparently.
That's great.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's
but,
like the Star Wars Xbox.
You know, Gears came out on PC, right?
Yes, but I needed a 1, so I was like, "There's an excuse."
What do you have? What do you have Titanfall on?
I have it on the 1.
Thank goodness. We should play.
But I there's not too much to say about Gears 4 at this point that we haven't already said. It's a goddamn Gears game.
It's a real good Gears game.
It's a real good Gears game. I think it was about time that it scratched the itch, and without spoiling it too much for anyone else, it does start answering in a very roundabout way some questions that we had.
Oh yeah. I love it.
Sort of.
No, dude, it's okay. Can we we're gonna talk spoilers, right? So they're obviously after her because I forget her name now, but she's from the bloodline of the Locust Queen, right? So she could be the next Locust Queen. That's what we're talking about, right?
Right. Yes.
Fucking A, man. I love it.
Still, it brings up more questions. Why it doesn't answer why. Why are they the Locust Queen in the first place? And how is that blood? And why is the symbol there? And all this shit. Whatever.
So why do the Locusts need a human-esque queen?
Yeah,
oh man, who knows?
They seem to have done fine without.
Well, no, because these things are not locusts; they're proto-locusts.
Yeah. I also like the stupid naming convention they give everything in the game.
Where they're kind of figuring it out as they go along too.
Oh yeah.
They don't call them Brumax anymore. They're they're like Mecha Brumax or something.
Swarmax or something.
Swarmax, that's it. And it's why would you call it that if you didn't know what the Brumac was in the first place?
Or we'll call this what the
Juvies.
Juvies. Oh man.
Juvies and drones, right?
Their characters are good. I like JD and his pal, whose name I can't remember, and the lady. And Marcus Phoenix is fucking.
Old man Marcus Phoenix is best Marcus Phoenix.
He's so good, man. I also played through the Gears remaster this year, and man, those they've come a long way, but still have the core of what made that first game great.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's just a goddamn solid Gears game, and I hope that we get more episodic releases of them at this point because I want the story to happen. It's not a very they don't really do so much with the game that's different in every other game. You can add another weapon in a couple of levels and it's a totally different game.
Yeah, I don't love the Gear. I love the Gear story, but I don't love it enough to ever read one of the books. That seems insane to me.
Well, that's up there with Halo, right?
I did that. I've read all 4 of the terrible Mass Effect novels.
Oh god. The other thing about Gears 4 that I really did like was the prologue.
Yeah.
Where you go back and play as Dom in the Pendulum Wars or those nameless faces Carmines.
Carmine, keeping that joke.
I love that the Hammer of Dawn and the Corpser is only in that one sequence in the beginning of the game and then never again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it hit me right in the memorabilia button there or whatever you want to call it. I needed Gears.
Yeah, it's weird to think Gears of War 1 came out 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And here's this game, and it's refined that to a really fine point, and it's really cool.
I mean, Gears 1 is one of the most important games of the last of all time. That mechanic is
cover shooters, man. They exist because of that game.
Yeah. So it's hot shit.
Yeah, I mean, my only complaint about
it looked amazing on PC too. It just looked freaking amazing.
It looks really good on Xbox One.
The only thing about the game that I can complain about is the same thing I had to say for Titanfall, is that I don't think we're getting storyline DLC ever again for any of these games.
Yeah.
Nope.
I'd love to see a Gears like a little mini story too, especially
Yeah.
Gears.
I kind of want to go back. I never played the single player DLC for 3. I should go back and do that.
I
There
loved
was
the single player DLC for 3, for the Lost level for 2,
I
where it's
didn't
you and
even
Dom and the camouflage.
I didn't even know about these two things.
Yeah, and Retribution had DLC that was like an after. It actually covered the where Baird and Coltrane went.
Coltrane runs on whole grains.
Runs on whole grains. Covered where they were when Marcus and
Wait,
Dom were whatever.
really?
Yeah.
I have to play that.
I didn't even know Gears 2 and Gears 3 had single player DLC, so I need to do some research. So I'm messing up. I bought the Gears 3 season pass. Never played any of it.
Yeah.
What a different time for video games.
Oh, dude, 3 was so good. Was that the one where you play as the
General Rom?
Yeah.
Rom Shadow or whatever.
Yes.
you play that. Yeah.
RAM or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rom. It's Rom.
Whatever. All right.
Yeah, what are video games? John, number 2.
Forza Horizon 3. Who's ready to go back to the festival with me?
Finally, it's a John Anderson on year for the Horizon series, and
Dude, let's talk about fucking Forza Horizon 3 for a second.
okay.
You take fast cars. You take dance music. You take pop punk. You put it in a mixer. You spit out, and you got John Anderson's second favorite game of the year. It's so goddamn good. I think like playing it, the environment, the Australia is so great. The cars are great. The fact that it's on PC and fucking just you could finally play Forza Horizon in 60 glorious frames per second as God intended is just so good. I love the dumbass conceit of you're at this like crazy festival about cars and music, and you're now the boss of the festival, and you have to race airplanes. It's just like nobody makes a more fun driving game. I like the mainline Forza series for the sim stuff. It's just like I can sit down for a half hour and play this crazy ass thing. That's what it is. It's real good. But I mean, what I really hope is that because with Forza Horizon 2 they did the standalone Fast and Furious like game thing that came out, and I pray they do something similar with this. I don't know why Dom and crew would go to Australia.
Dom is obviously a traitor now.
Twist.
I'm sure that's what the whole story of that movie is. What's the family?
I feel like if they were going to rebrand a title and make it a Fast and Furious promotional game like they did with the last one, I feel like it would be like a UFC fighter, and they just have The Rock and Jason Statham in a ring.
Okay, I'm on board.
I'd play that.
Yeah.
I think so. We've gotten one of the expansions so far, the Blizzard Mountain, and that's so far so good. It's really fun. I hope the next one is a little less off-road focused. I think that it's interesting that they started tracking sort of choices. So as you expand the festival, it's like, oh, do you want to put the festival over here? This will be more circuit racing, or over here, this will be more off-roading. It seemed like this, and it tracked those choices like in Catherine or Telltale game. So it's like 73% of people chose to do the city driving stuff instead of the off-road. So I hope they like shift back towards more on-road stuff, because I really like that. The first Horizon is my favorite one, because it's in a lot of ways like more focused, because you can do you'll have more specific constraints to enter a race. The Horizon 2 and 3 have been like, show up with whatever and we'll find a race for you. And I understand why that would be appealing to a lot of people, but I like it's more fun to have to like kind of play within rules that they set for you. That said, I mean, I can't. I can only imagine where they go from here. What I really, really, really hope for is I would like them to do like some sort of approximation of Japan, like drifting through mountain passes, like
Forza Horizon Drift.
Yeah, like you could be in Tokyo, you can be in the countryside. I think
that That sounds amazing, honestly.
Yeah, so good. That would be
That's
what I,
parachute drop level off of Mount Fuji.
yeah, absolutely. You should totally do that.
Is this the best setting for a Forza game?
Um, man, I really like Colorado, and then the rally DLC for this. This is very good though. Uh, Australia's weird, man. Australia's weird because I don't, it's great.
It
The
seems
city, having the city there is, I would say yes.
okay.
Is it Sydney or Melbourne?
Surfer's Paradise.
Okay.
It seems like the biggest thing that I've taken away from a lot of people I know that have been on the show to talk about this game. This is their first driving sim game, is Forza Horizon 3 specifically, and the setting is what drew them in the most. So,
It's very good, very good.
okay. Fuck all those video games though.
We've reached that point.
We've reached that point. None of those games matter anymore. This is the only game that matters ever. Number 1, Fred.
Oh my god, it's fucking Doom. This is the best Doom game that's ever doomed since any Doom game has ever been. Like it. Okay, this is a basic bitch shooter, and I love every part of it. I love the level design. I love that it has all those little hidden pieces like the original Dooms did. I love that there's parts of the game that won't let you go back to earlier parts of the level. Like there's hard like cutoffs on certain levels that you can't go back on anymore. I love that the fact that like they hit a bunch of secret shit in every level, but you can get like a I don't know, a radar that will just tell you where all the secrets are so you can get them all and all the collectibles and shit. Oh my god, I love this game.
Classic Doom in Doom.
This is the reboot we all needed.
I like when you play old Doom in Doom.
This is
Wolfenstein and Wolfenstein.
This is what we needed in a Doom game. Very much like how the Wolfenstein games sort of went back to the well with Wolfenstein and made them more than the original was, right? Those Wolfenstein games had poignant stories and like were actually really good to play, right? Whereas, I mean, this didn't really have so much of a story, so much as you murder demons throughout the game. But that's exactly what Doom always was, and that's all it needs to be. I like all like the little inklings of a story they sort of dropped in there, like all the little like, there's a hint of a backstory and there's a hint that it ties into the earlier Doom titles, but who gives a shit? You're gonna go punch demons, and pretty much everything, like the pacing, everything is great. Even the and John, I won't spoil the final boss for you, but even like the surprise of what the final boss is
really good.
Is really good. I mean, my only gripe with the game, if I were to have any, is that some of the weapon modifications didn't feel great compared to like there were some that just felt clearly superior.
Yeah.
But other than that, like this is exactly the game I wanted to play in a Doom title, and I hope there's more. I hope Quake feels like this too. I hope there's more Wolfensteins. Like these are the games I need to play because it's like, here's my 15 hours. Here's my $60. I had a fun time. That's more than I can say for most things.
No one really brought up the multiplayer. It seems like really
I tried it a little.
Appreciated.
That's not really why I play a Doom game.
Yeah, no.
Doom was always a single player. That's what Quake is for, goddammit.
Yeah.
The multiplayer, the interesting thing was like, because they couldn't have WADs anymore. We had no WAD files, but they had that sort of like node-based level editor.
Snap map.
Yeah. What was really interesting is the guy who sort of spent all that time making like the mod for Doom within the snap map system that was like a full-on MOBA.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
There's a guy who, I forget the name of it, and it was like, I don't know if they ever finished it, but he using the snap map managed to make like a modified version of the game with multiple classes and like a turret based system, and you could like spawn greater demons and shit.
That's so cool.
Yeah, no, I mean I love that type of stuff. I just don't know that it's very rare that like me wanting to play someone's Counter-Strike mod will ever hit. It's rare that something like that even takes off, but it's cool that it's there. But that, once again, that's not why I'm playing Doom. I'm playing Doom to punch monsters, and that's all I want to do.
And it does it real good.
It does it better than any monster punching game has ever. It does it better than Monster Puncher 5, and up until this point, I thought that was the best monster punching game.
Doom is real good, and I want to.
You really should.
It's worth finishing. I really like the boss fights too, like all three, or I don't know. There's more. There might be more than that, but like all of the boss fights, I thought were awesome. So I don't know if you got to the first one, John, but
I was in I was in a level with a lot of verticality.
you were like right before it. It sounds like then.
I think you're actually at the midway if you're
Okay.
at that level. That's the one where you're climbing the reactor, right?
Oh yeah, I was thinking the tall level in Hell, but no, not that.
Yeah. No, that
Oh, wait.
that reactor level is really
No, wait.
well designed too.
No, I went to hell.
You go to Hell and then you come back and then you do more stuff and then you go to Hell again.
I'm
Don't worry.
forgetting. Okay. So anyway, yeah. I want to play the shit out of that game. God damn. Maybe there's a way to fix my save. Probably not.
Start it over. Just do it.
It's playing through that game again is not necessarily a bad thing, I will say.
I got all these collectibles. Okay, you guys are right. You guys are right. You always are.
Doom is really fucking good. I having like not loved a Doom game before, like I bounced off the first one when I tried to go back to it as the youth.
You baby.
I know.
You little baby.
I like Doom 2 a lot, but the first one
The last Doom before this one, the
3.
never
was it
touched 3.
It was the entire game was just walk down a corridor, something spawns behind you, shoot it. That was the entire game. They just basically put a glossy coating on like what was Doom 1, but like they didn't update it for what modern computers could do.
Mm-hmm.
This totally said, all right, we're making this like a real first-person shooter now.
Double jumps, man. Holy shit. That game feels really good.
Also, you're named the Doom Marine.
Doom Marine don't give a fuck.
Man,
also.
yeah, the mechanics themselves like feel so good.
Do you know what this game is? And I'll shut up. This game is it successfully did what they tried to do with Duke Nukem.
Yes. A lot of people have actually brought up that specific comparison in these top 10 lists.
They figured it out. They found the secret recipe.
This is the way you do it. Less is more, and the character shouldn't talk.
And be named the Doom Marine.
And be named the Doom Marine. And that double barrel shotgun is perfect. Number 1, John.
Is there even any question? It's Uncharted 4: A Thieves End. Just kidding. That game is for fuck boys. I'm halfway through that game. It's fine. It's just way too long. It's too much bad shooting. My number 1 is obviously Firewatch.
Yeah.
It's Firewatch. It was always Firewatch. It was always going to be Firewatch.
There's always a John. There's always a Firewatch.
There's always a John. There's always a walking sim, and like, let me count the ways. The adventure game, the text-based adventure game at the beginning that made me fucking cry, like before they even like show any graphics, like
the prologue that made you cry.
It's so good.
It's this game is emotionally devastating. I played this with my wife as well, and it was just, man, it was quite a journey we took. I think like the way it deals with like themes like grief, and I think like I think Henry is a very easily relatable character for me personally. Like the way he reacts to things, like it was very it like it felt like it was something real. It felt believable. Speaking of believable, like I think the whole conspiracy that's in the game or whatever, I think that part only felt believable to us. Like in hindsight, I look back and I'm like, that's only believable because we play fucking video games, right? Like, of course, like we were believing that's the real story, and it turns out that it's not, and it's just this much more tragic thing. Mm-hmm. And that was amazing. I think the art is, beyond. Beyond anything I've ever seen before. I think Ollie Moss.
It has to be. It's Ollie Moss.
Ollie Moss is incredible, and how they made his paintings move is just is fucking so cool.
Yeah.
Let's see the um, as I mentioned one thing. So like how there are the lock boxes everywhere, and you find the code and you enter the password. So I kept on entering in 0451 into everything, thinking that like, oh yeah, there's got to be a secret in here. There isn't. There is not. 0451 being the password that's in Thief and System Shock and Bioshock and Deus Ex, and it's always one of the things because they're all from that same school of they all have that same design
Isn't that the thing, the
ethos.
scanner in The Simpsons when they scan Maggie?
Is that what it says?
I think so, or at least it used to.
That was kind of funny. Man, I loved this game, and like you said before, the way it was creepy really got me. I think the way as the story intensifies, the surroundings and the environment changes to suit the map. Let's talk about that map.
That map is real
Oh,
good.
that map though.
That
Oh,
map.
I loved it.
That map was such a great mechanic. Like the way you're wayfinding using a compass, like it's so cool. The fucking well, I'm like thinking about it. It's like getting me. The instant camera or the disposable camera.
Oh yeah.
So at the end, and they're during the credits, they're showing you the pictures you took, and then they show you the pictures that were on it when you found it, and it's just like, fuck, man. Like I
Yeah.
thought I was done, like getting just punched in the gut, but nope, you guys did it one more time. It was just it is the best game I played this year. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah. It's the when I talked about it when I reviewed it earlier this year, for me, the thing that that touched me the most was like it is people talk about how like nothing happens in that game. But like ultimately for me, Firewatch was this kind of beautiful representation of like this transitory period in life where you're just trying to figure shit out. And I think it really nails how lost you can feel. And like there are motifs and philosophies built into the very design of that game that actually support and reinforce that. And you kind of empathizing with Henry as in this incredibly difficult period of his life where he's like essentially run away is I don't know, it really hit home with me as like I know I'm on the younger side and like Henry is cool because he's like an older protagonist that I don't think you see in video games a lot, and he is very much going through this kind of midlife crisis, and for me of like this feeling of being lost is something that I think you face a lot when you're younger as well, and it really resonated with me.
Yeah, I think like and the thing you think is the story, like we're so used, and people who complain about, oh well, nothing happened. Well, it's kind of I agree. It's just it's not about things happening. You don't have to be saving the fucking world in every video game. They can tell a different kind of story, and they can this is why I think video games are incredibly powerful, is because they can put you in somebody's shoes like this, and it just fucking worked for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no secret like how much of like a mark I am for the guys that did this game. Like the Campo Santos, I love Idle Thumbs. I like those guys. They're all friends with Steve Gaynor, who did Gone Home. They're all born from this way of doing video game narrative, and they fucking commit to it. I also say they have the best booth at PAX. They had a photo booth.
Yeah.
And then they give you the pictures in like a full recreation, like packaging of the photo company, like of a photo, like era appropriate man. And they had walkie talkies, and I chatted with those guys briefly. I'm like, you guys just made a fucking incredible game. I'm gonna go back. It has developer commentary in it now, and I'm gonna go back and do that. one of these days. Gosh.
I missed stuff in that game too. Like I never found the turtle, which is a part of that game, apparently.
Oh yeah, I found the turtle.
So
totally based on that.
I'd like to see more of that game. It's really good. I agree with both of you. That is really good.
I just think the game needed more guns.
Yeah, like the cover shooting mechanic was really bad.
There's no Gears of War. Fred, I need right now, you and me, what's the over under on John's Game of the Year 2017 being Tacoma? Like
it would have been this it would have been this fucking year if it came out, man.
I know. What's the over under? It comes out in 2017.
Yeah, that's true enough.
I don't know, man. Like, what's the over under on that being my game of the year? Because goddamn, I'm waiting for it.
Yeah, it's probably if it comes out this year, it's almost certainly going to be.
I love the fact that that game was like, this is too similar to what we were making before, so we're just gonna scrap it all and make it again.
I ran into on the flight back from GDC, I ran into the sound designer on that game. We had a nice long chat. Fucking A, man.
I'm very excited.
I cannot wait for Tacoma.
Yeah, man, Gone Home. Yeah, like I think in the same way that Firewatch is like very specific and resonated with a lot of things that you've been through, John, or like your emotional ethos. Gone Home was that for me. So,
Gone Home.
That's a video game.
These guys make some good fucking games, dude. There are a few ways that like you can make me instantly not like. You can make me instantly disregard everything you say, and if you fucking are one of these people who is like, Gone Home's not a game, walking simulators aren't games, you get the fuck out. You just get right on my block list on Twitter and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, you're that mom.
You have no good opinions about anything.
Real quick, to close this out, what are you guys' most anticipated games of 2017?
That's not
Tacoma? You obviously you mentioned Tacoma.
Tacoma, I guess. Yeah, that's not Tacoma.
So I have two picks. Fred, you can Google games of 2017 right now while I'm going over my picks. So I got my sort of basic bitch thing I'm looking forward to, Mass Effect Andromeda. It'll probably be totally fine. Yeah. I think I'm ready for more Mass Effect. I'm discouraged by the fact that it doesn't load in my save, but whatever. Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah. And then my real pick, besides Tacoma, obviously is, and I who knows if this game is coming out this year, if it ever fucking comes out. Only One. So that's Kanye West's game.
Oh, okay.
That is the game about his mother's ascension to heaven.
I thought that game came out this year for some reason, but then I realized it was just like a demo at like the movie or the music awards or something like that.
He played a trailer when he did the listening party for Life of Pablo. I fucking really like Kanye. Life of Pablo is my favorite album of the year. The guy doesn't do bad art. So like people, if you're in an internet comment section and you're like, oh, what the fuck is this garbage? I had no time for you either. Like whatever he does, it's going to be, I mean,
you're in.
Let's see what this is.
Yeah, I am curious. That's for sure. All right, Fred. Hit me up.
Man, it's a tough one because I really don't keep up anymore. For me, 2017, like this is going to happen in the next couple of days. But Last Guardian is going to be like a 2017 game for me at this point, and I really hope that delivers an emotional gut punch to me. Other than that, though, like there's not a whole lot that we haven't talked about that that's even on my radar. Like I really like the conversation lately with a lot of my circle has been like these new Kojima joints that are supposed to be coming out, which I fully suspect won't be out until like 2020.
Yeah,
yep, for sure.
And like
Zelda, dude.
I'm trepidatious about Resident Evil 7 now because it looks like it's hitting on some of those PT things, but I don't know. Like
Fractured Butthole.
Yeah, I mean, well, that let's see if that comes out in 2017.
Q1, believe,
dude. The 20th anniversary South Park season started out super strong and sort of petered off for me. So I don't know.
Sonic Mania, Prey. I want these games.
It's a Super Mario Run, but when they add in more content and make it for Android.
That game sucks. Game sucks.
All right. Thank you guys for letting me host this shindig.
Well, no, thank you for coming on to Fantastic Neighborhood.
Thank you for being a part of my guest top tens, kind of also.
Make sure to tune into the Bro C.
Yeah, check it out on the Bro C or Fantastic Neighborhood or Irrational Passions. These are 3 shows that we are doing right now.
we're in the center of the 3-way Venn diagram, and it's all right. It's pretty all right in my book. That's all I got. I don't even know how to close this out, so
We never know how to close this out, so we usually
touch the shark.
Touch the shark.
Shark.
I guess punch the shark.